All right, here we go. It's another edition of IFM Radio. My special guest today, Mike Cammalleri from BioSteel. Mike, how's it going?
I'm well, thank you, Terry. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for making the time. I also want to give a little thanks to Mark Curcio, your sales. He's a vice president of sales or sales director, I believe.
I don't know. We can change his title again if we
We
want
just
to.
make up the title, but yeah, no, Mark for getting everything put together and all that. And obviously, I've been wanting to speak with you for a little while, and first, congrats on all your success and what you've been doing. Obviously, you work very hard, and my first question I want to start off with is honestly the easiest one is like why? Like why after a successful hockey career did you get into sports nutrition and doing this type of business?
Yeah, well, it wasn't really after; it was during. So,
During, okay.
to understand that answer, you got to kind of understand the genesis of our company, and really what happened was had training and nutrition was kind of something that was important to me through my career, and
Yeah.
I got into the NHL in 2002. So it was a different landscape than it is now, where it's really the norm. It was guys were doing it, but it wasn't. It certainly wasn't the norm to do it at a certain level back then. I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis at 11 years old, so maybe a little more sensitive to inflammation and those sort of things than the average person. And um, kind of spent a lot of resources, time, energy, trying to find the best advice I could get with strengths, nutrition, and things of that nature. And ended up talking to a lot of brilliant people and working with a bunch of brilliant minds, and kept hearing a common theme, which was just be really careful what you put in your body. And
Yeah.
uh, it was challenging. It was challenging to find hydration that was not full of sugars or dyes or food colorings or other toxins. It was challenging to find supplements that I thought were of the highest quality and safe and drug tested. So,
Yeah.
um, with that in mind, kind of always had an entrepreneurial gene, and felt like business was something I wanted to be involved in. And
Yeah.
a friend of mine, John, and I grew up together, and he grew up in the locker rooms with me, kind of experiencing this. And so we decided to start a company that would solve those problems, and create a product line that would be the highest quality ingredients, safe and drug tested, and
Mhm.
hopefully an easier to follow product line, and maybe somewhat confusing space in our opinion. So
Yeah.
set off to do so in '09, and that was it. So then, as the company went, and then I went on with my career. John's run the company every day, and so I've had different levels of involvement, but it wasn't a question of. So that might answer your question is why. Is then I stopped playing and getting back into the business now has been a lot of fun. It's been a passion project for us for a decade now.
I love that. Obviously, it's something that you personally wanted to do, something that was helping yourself as an athlete, right? And then it just kind of turns in, right? I mean, sometimes you have these ideas, and it just starts to ferment, starts to grow. But I kind of think that if I was a young guy, playing in the NHL, and I'm sure you made a lot of money in your time, and I'm sure you've seen guys who just say, you know what, I don't need to do anything else. I'm just going to play golf. I don't need the stress of even running a business, for example, right? I mean, running a business, obviously there's going to be people watching this, listening to this, who run businesses, and they understand there's lots of things you got to do. You got to worry about taxes, and you just got to worry about people, everything. Regardless of what money you make, there's always going to be stresses, right? And I think you're in a very unique position. We're in a unique position where young guy athlete making money, and then you would strike me probably as the guy who likes the challenges, someone who's hungry to do more, right? I mean, because you are not just
Uh,
a
yeah,
hockey player, you're a good hockey player, and here's the thing too, because I have a lot of respect. Because the first time I met you, Mike, I'm going to be totally honest with you, man. I go, wow, this guy is not that big. Like, he's not that big. I've met a lot of NHL guys, and no disrespect, because I've got buddies who are good hockey players, but they were 5'9", whatever, 6 feet, but they weren't big. But to play with the big guys and to be that good, there has to be something more. So that's kind of where I'm saying, right? Like,
yeah, no,
what is it?
yeah, I think. Listen, you grow older. I'm 38 years old. You start learning more about yourself. First of all, when it comes to running the business, I'm fortunate to have a great partner and great people that work at the business. So I don't necessarily have to deal with all of those stresses on a day-to-day basis that you talk about. So
Yeah,
fortunate.
yeah,
But yeah, for me, like I said, it was a passion project for us, and to get back
yeah.
involved in it, it's something that I really enjoy. I think, yeah, certainly parts of your personality you learn and understand about yourself as you grow older, and why you do the things you do, or why
Mhm.
you find certain pursuits compelling. And so, yeah, as a player, for me, you talked about the size thing, that gets brought up a lot.
Yeah.
I just didn't see it that way. For me, I was a player who just never felt small, or saw myself as small. And that was one of my forays into the strength world, was that I
Yeah.
felt like if I could be stronger than a guy who was 6'3",
Yeah.
then maybe size became a relative term. And maybe, maybe you're talking about height, and I can't change my height, but if I can
Yeah.
be stronger than the guy who's 6'3", and, we
Yeah.
go in the corner and I come up with the puck, well, then again, maybe size becomes a relative term, and then who's bigger now. So
Yeah. Yeah.
for me, that's kind of how I went about my business, and I never felt that, although people would say that. And you're right. I've had many guys come up to me in a bar and say, I was your height, and I could have made it, but it was this and it was that.
Well, listen, it's always like, first impression sometimes. And I guess when you watch someone, and especially in your case, right? I'm a hockey fan. I do watch hockey, obviously. And at that time, you played for Montreal, and I'm a Toronto fan. So I just thought, wow, that was my first time. This guy's he's not a big guy, but because most of the hockey guys I've met are pretty big guys, right? And at that time, one of the girls that worked with me, she was dating, now married to Brian McGrattan. So you have this guy where he's a big guy to me, obviously. And I'm like, that's what an NHL player looks like, in that regards. So I
Maybe.
just thought, what's that?
Shell.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. We played together, Gratz and I, so we're all friendly, very good friends.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure,
That's right. She was working with the magazine back then. That's right. I remember that.
yeah, it was quite some time ago. We went down and I did that article. This is going years ago. And I remember
I
you
think I
had,
remember you coming to the gym now that you mention it. That's right.
yeah, that's where that's why I kind of saw. I'm like, okay, there's BioSteel, what's going to kind of go on here. And then to be honest with you too, in the supplement world, I mean, I could tell you this. So I deal with tons of supplement guys, a lot of people will look at, okay, who are they? Who's this BioSteel guys? You guys made a splash, in my opinion, and I'm sure people have told you that, especially some of the sponsorships. And I'm going to just assume that if obviously you've got friends and you've got a network, so it's easier to get some deals going. I'm not saying anything's free in life, that's for sure. But I mean, one of the biggest marketing things you did was the basketball center, right? The BioSteel Center.
Yeah, when we did the Raptors deal, we had the bench rights and we had the practice facility. Correct.
Yeah, I mean that's guys. I mean, and people have to remember too. There's a ton of sports nutrition companies in the GTA. There's probably more in Toronto. I'm talking like the Muscle Tech and a lot of Allmax, all these guys here in Toronto who never really thought about this, maybe, I guess, or maybe put the plans together. I assume it's expensive, you know what I mean? But that's one of those things that you have to make those calculated risks in a business, right? So I imagine.
Yeah, for us, it was a matter of. So yeah, we certainly had a network and inroads in pro sports, but really our product spoke for themselves. They were so good that the guys would become such fans of the product that all of our endorsement deals came about in a very untraditional manner, which was the endorser or the athlete. Like Patrick Mahomes is a great example. We just signed Patrick Mahomes, who was probably the number one asset in America. And people are like, how'd you do that? And it's quite simply the same formula that's worked for all of them, which is they've been using the product for 4 or 5 years, exclusively BioSteel product.
Yeah.
And their representatives come to us and say, hey, my client loves your product. Do you want to do a deal? And so then we try and do a fair deal that everybody's happy with, and the right partners best them as part of the brand. So that's how it went for us early on also. We had the right people just really fall in love with the product, and the word authenticity comes up all the time now. It's such a buzzword that I try and avoid it, but we like to think we were using it a decade ago. We were just truly authentic relationships with people using, consuming, paying for our product, rather than us giving it to them. And then the relationships developed from there. And then the BioSteel Center, that was kind of when, my partner, John, who you heard me refer to a few times, he just felt like at that point, our brand was ready to take that step in Canada and become more of a household brand. And made a bold move and allocated the resources there. And you'll see us roll a bunch of more deals like that into the U.S. market in the coming years.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about like, plans and what you have down the pipeline because, from what I understand, there's obviously lots going on. But one thing I kind of wanted to figure out too is just like for you, the innovation side, okay, where does it really come from? How involved are you in this? You know what I mean? Like obviously I know when you started, you were playing and all this. How involved are you in the innovation side? Like where does that
Great
come in?
question, Terry, because what ends up happening in the business is you get involved on a day-to-day basis, and you're not exactly sure where you're going to spend more time or energy, and that's one place that I've gravitated to naturally is on the innovation and product development side of things. So we have a team here that does innovation, product development, and one of the important things for us is that we are always kind of tapped into the locker room insights. So from our athletes to our strength coaches and subject matter experts who tell us what they need, what they're looking for in the locker room, and then we work hard at producing best in market, best in class product that'll facilitate the locker room, so that we're always in the locker room. We're always a trusted source for pro athletes and pro strength coaches.
Well, that's obviously another important thing too in the sports nutrition world. I mean, when you're dealing with professional athletes, there's quality. I mean, there's been problems in the past with other companies where athletes will test for things and all that, and it could have been the product or whatever it is. I mean, you're dealing with very high level athletes, and you can't. And I tell people, like when people ask me, they go, "Hey, what product should I use?" I'm like, "Listen, the companies that do spend money, there's a reason for it. You know what I mean? There's a reason for it. There's some of the cheapest stuff you're going to find out there. There's a reason. You know what I mean? Are they really getting the protein you think you're going to get? Are you getting, like you said, there's sugars, there's dyes. There can be certain things that you just don't really even pay attention to. You know what I mean? And I think you're obviously on the right path because I see a lot of, consumers asking, and even in the magazine, we're doing more of that stuff. We're covering a lot more.
And that's some great insight. So one of the things, I can tell you a recent story. One of the things we do is the product we make available for pro athletes, we make it available to the retail consumer. So, that's the quality is everything for us. Now, we try and be as competitive as we can on price point, and we manage that accordingly, but we know what we're able to and not able to do. And a good story is one of the major pro sports teams in North America uses some of our products, and they wanted to bring in our protein. Last week we had this conversation, and they use another brand, and they get a very inexpensive protein, and they asked us to match that price. And after we analyzed it, we said we just couldn't. Our proteins just we can't manufacture that cost. And so, if the answer to these pro sports teams is you're looking for the best possible product at a very good price, then we can provide you with that product. If the mandate from your team or your organization is to get the most inexpensive possible protein, then we're just not your source.
Yeah. One cool thing too is you guys work with a lot of youth, a lot of younger athletes or younger up and coming guys. I mean, how did that all come about, and how far does that go? I mean, I just seen it because a friend of mine runs a football league, and I saw him getting vials to the kids, and I'm like, wow, that's actually really cool. And he's like, yeah, they supplied this to us.
Yeah. So a couple things. First of all, with our hydration product like this, new ready to drink.
Yeah, I love it. I'm drinking it right now. This tastes awesome.
I got the old school mixed berry, but we're sugar free, right? We're sugar free. We're natural. We got no dyes or preservatives. So really just a great alternative for the youth and to help them get healthier and take sugar out of their diet, because they're consuming so much of it, way too much than anybody needs to be. And then those initiatives, again, we want to touch those grassroots programs and sports teams and provide them with a healthier option. I mean, the world's getting healthier. Our youth is getting healthier.
Yeah.
And so if we can get involved at that level and let them understand that they can feel great and hydrate this way and use our products without adding the sugar, that's important to us.
And I think if you could win over like a group of like, say, 12-year-olds with flavor, for example, because I've got two kids, I got a 10-year-old, and I'm telling you, if they drink this and they're like, this is good, and you could win them over, you could win over anyone really, because they're probably your toughest crowd.
Yeah, you had to have the flavor, right? We learned that the hard way. Our first iteration of a ready to drink, frankly, didn't taste that good, and we were working really hard on trying to make it better. And we think in this format with this product, we've accomplished that. And now, my kids, they're licking the cap clean. They can't get enough of it.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, it's fantastic. Like I said, I haven't even tried everything, but I mean, the stuff that I've tried, I love it so far. What are some of the challenges? Like, what's something that stuck out to you, like starting the business and all that, and then getting into things. What comes up to mind?
Oh man,
I have challenges. I mean,
yeah, too many
loaded question, but what?
too many stories to tell. You know, we could sit in the war room all day. I mean, we started pretty green, John and I, at the very beginning, and you know, learned pretty quickly that the consumer
And,
packaged goods
yeah,
business is a heavy cash flow business. You know, so all kinds of challenges. I mean, when it came to raising money, building the business, finding the right partners, all those things were kind of learned on the go as we
yeah.
were very entrepreneurial and very raw to start.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm all about motivation. I'm always intrigued what motivates people, not just, businesses and all that. And I always found when people tell me I can't do something, I hate to almost admit it sometimes, but I'm not gonna lie to you. That's where it's like, you know what? I'm gonna show them. You know what I mean? I'm gonna prove to people I could do something here. And I think probably a lot of successful people do share that. I mean, and then now as I've been getting older, and I'm sure you find as you get older, it's more rewarding to help people. I'm competitive, but I want everyone to do well. You know what I mean? I don't really, there's people I don't like. I mean, I'm vocal about it. I don't like some of the bullshitters out there and some of the people who scam people and who do lie and they make claims and all that. I'm not the police. I'm not someone who's going to necessarily, call everyone out on it, but obviously it does exist. Right. So,
Yeah, no, yeah, no, I'll just maybe touch on that. You like I said earlier, you go through different stages in your life and probably are motivated by different things. But I like to call that what you're talking about is people telling you can't. It's a little bit of the FU factor,
yeah.
and I think that's part of our culture too, for sure.
Um, One thing, okay, so working with athletes, and I mean, I was just looking at the website, and I know you've had so many big names, but I mean, for me, I thought Wayne Gretzky was pretty damn cool, man.
Yeah, yeah, that is
Pretty
cool.
damn cool, you know what I mean? Because I just can't see Wayne obviously doing anything he doesn't really want to do. You know what I mean? Like I would imagine, and I mean, he's a legend, and I mean, that's yeah,
Yeah, no, it was cool. I mean, for me, growing up, I grew up born in 1982, so grew up kind of at the end of the Gretzky heyday. Obviously a huge fan, and cool for us to do that deal and him to be part of the brand.
yeah.
I got traded to Edmonton at the end of my career, and so I was playing for Wayne, and yet he was endorsing our product all at the same time. It was kind of and Connor was on the team, so
Connor, yeah.
BioSteel guy, Wayne, BioSteel guy, sitting in the stands watching us, and then I was playing, so it was kind of a interesting dynamic there.
Yeah, you know what? I have some friends, like I said, I'm not gonna talk too much hockey and all that, but always a debate about, some of the best hockey players of all time. And I was born in 75, watched Wayne Gretzky play and all that. And my friend's really a big Ovechkin, fan. And I'm like, I can't really, I'm not an Ovechkin guy. Obviously, he's very talented and all that. But I mean, Wayne, Mario Lemieux, there's some names back that obviously, but Wayne is like, that's just the coolest thing. I just think,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
one thing to do business, right? But to have that all tied in.
you can't touch Wayne's numbers, that's for sure. I mean, it's and you
No
go through
sports.
some
Yeah.
good times. I mean, the one guy that I find to be obviously so interesting too is Connor in the current game. I mean,
Yeah.
if you had to look at just raw skill set, the best player that ever played the game of hockey, on just if you weren't comparing, it's tough to compare generations if you don't want to get into that argument, but
Yeah.
just whoever's played the game at the highest quality level, speed, skill, all those things. I mean, he's I don't know that anybody's ever done it like he's done it. So
And he still has more. I mean, he's got a lot more to do.
yeah, they got to get him some Stanley Cups so his legacy goes on. But he's just a special guy to watch and get to know for sure.
What's your favorite team that you played for?
I get asked that question all the time. They were all great for different reasons. Is the true answer. There's no way for me to do that. I mean, I can rattle through it pretty quick. So started my career in LA. I mean, living in California and getting to live that life and experience the quality of life there and playing on the West Coast. It was a special way for me to enter the league. And then Calgary. Calgary's like kind of like the best of Canada hockey without the worst of Canada hockey. It's like you get all the attention and desire from the fan base, but they're also Calgarians are some of the most kind, polite people you'll ever meet. So really, really special place to play, and probably the place that I was most appreciated as a player by
I say, yeah.
the organization, the management. So just very fond memories there. And then Montreal, my Montreal was just such an intimate relationship for me. It was 2.5 years, but two playoff runs and
I remember. I remember. Yeah,
yeah, such special games.
I
So
remember.
as a player, just a really intimate time in my life, and uh, couldn't I just have nothing but great, fond, romantic memories about playing in Montreal.
Yeah,
And then what I do, I go back to Calgary, back to LA,
yeah.
LA and Calgary twice, and then Edmonton to finish was kind of brief, and I didn't really get a great feel for that. I was just kind of living right by the rink and without my wife and kids for a few months. So that
Yeah.
was it.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, there's so much we could talk about hockey. I didn't really want to get into hockey. Now I want to talk about what's coming down the pipeline. What are you working on? I mean, global. I mean, how many countries can we find BioSteel in?
Yeah, we have some global expansion. Really, for us, we're spending a lot of our resources on U.S. expansion now into the U.S. marketplace, kind of with distribution across the country, and our product that we're really getting behind it is again this ready to drink hydration product in a Tetra Pak. So um, for the Canadians, we will keep pushing all the things the way we do and keep growing our brand awareness. There's some rainbow. We do these flash flavors.
Yeah.
They've really taken off. And rainbow is one that everyone loves so much that
I think the packaging looks fantastic too. You know what I mean? That's one thing you probably evolved with because I think the first ones were pretty clean, but then everyone starts to copy and kind of gets there. This, I mean, how can you not miss this, right? This is
sure, yeah. You go through at the company different things, right? Like so, John, my partner, is a marketer and marketer at heart through and through, and so the internal conversations, you ask about those. For me, originally, it was like, can the branding be very basic? Can it be very much like under the radar, very basic, like what's in locker rooms, like you don't really, doesn't really flash. And he was much more the marketer who had much more of that flavor of like, no, we need it to pop and we need it to be exciting and we need kids to want to pick it up. And so these are all internal conversations that go and you have different iterations and evolves over time.
what's your, I mean, favorite product flavor? Anything one? If there's one product you have to pick, I'm saying you'll probably love all of them, but if there's one that you have to pick, which is the one?
Well, the most two recent flash flavors that I've really liked in our powder product was the apple and the tart cherry. They've both been really good, in my opinion. But uh, I'd say the white freeze ready to drink, the one you're drinking, is the one I consume the most of right now.
Yeah, I know this is. I mean, obviously, if I put this in the freezer a little bit, it got pretty damn cold. I think it'd be even better because I'm drinking this room temperature, and I'm.
So is it nostalgic for you? Do you taste the white freezy taste?
Yeah, it's funny because I had some freezes out yesterday, so I went to my parents' house and I had all these jumbo freezes that I bought. I'm like, "What's your favorite flavor?" Everyone was like, "The white one, white one." I'm like, "Really?" My kids, my parents. I was just like, "Okay." And dude, I'm telling you, I freeze it. I gotta experiment. I gotta freeze it and see, and I'll put it up. I mean, listen.
Bio popsicles, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about it, because as I was, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I think I had two freezies yesterday, jumbo freezies, and
Sure.
that's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good, right? Because if sometimes
See
you
it in
just
your face today. I can see it in your face today.
yeah, right. And it's funny too because my dad, he's almost 70, and they pulled the freezes out, and he was just all over the freezes. I was like, wow, I never thought my old man would be into it. But yeah, the flavor on this is great. And like I said, if you can win over kids and if you test it out, I mean that's really your biggest. I always tell people it's like I'm picky with flavor. I'm really concerned if everything like marks off like people say they do, then it's like, okay, cool. Now let me try it out because honestly, at the end of the day, I've seen a lot of companies come and go, and they always, I mean, the joke in the industry sometimes, I've got the best tasting one. I'm like, heard that before.
Yeah, sure.
And but to back it up, and I think too, like, listen, even with athletes, it has to have everything there. And there's a challenge there because not everything that's good for you that goes into it's actually going to taste good too, right? So there must be a lot of trial.
That was a mandate from day one with us. Was especially in your post shake. I always felt like if I'm gonna work out and train this hard, if I'm gonna go play a game, I need my post shake to feel like a treat. Like halfway through my workout, I got to be craving that post shake.
Yeah.
And so yeah, the flavors had to be right. Yeah, with the freezies, we at home, what my wife will do is take the powder and make it like really condensed, like a lot, and then freeze them in popsicle sticks, and kids love them.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. I mean, obviously, you should share it. I don't know if this is on Instagram or wherever, but these are definitely things. I'm a foodie. I love food. I mean, it's kind of weird being in the fitness world, but I think I do meet a lot of like some of the best bodies. People have got the best physiques and they love food. Some of them hate it. but
Sure.
some of them love food. I'm like, wow, how do you even do this? How do you eat like half a pizza there? And then, but I think that people know their bodies too, right? Like you said, like you have, I'm sure you have natural, what's the one thing, I mean, that you're naturally born with that like, okay, not everyone's going to be this way.
Me personally,
Yeah. What's
gee,
your person?
I mean, I just go back to my childhood and my sports. I mean, for me, I just love playing sports as a kid. You know, people say, you know, what did you
Be
do? How did
faster, a
you,
little bit more acceleration, say, or what was it?
so like genetically, I would
Yeah,
say
Jack.
I was always pretty strong for my size and quick, more quick than fast. So strong and quick.
Strong,
So
quick.
fast meaning like if we're gonna run 100 meters, someone will catch and beat me. But like the first 5 to 10, I can usually get you in. So more fast and more quick than fast. Sorry.
Yeah, acceleration.
Yeah.
You're there.
And then more
Well,
explosive. So you know
which is
when it's
key, obviously. See, it makes sense, right? So, like, if you play other sports, let's say, is there another sport? Are you good at golf or something that you're probably
I'm
golf,
not a
maybe?
golfer, but the golf sport debate is when we could have. I couldn't love golf more than any. I don't think than anybody. Couldn't love more golf more, but I'm not sure it's a sport. It depends on what your criteria and definitions are going to be for sport.
Oh, wow. Here we go. I mean,
All other
is
fun
darts a sport? Like now, bowling? Are we going to start getting?
skills in my maybe they're a skill. So maybe golf's a skill. Maybe then you have athletics, which is like track and field, right? Like 100 meter, 200
Yeah.
meter, cross country. These are like athletics. And then maybe a sport needs to have a simultaneous offensive and defensive force.
Interesting. I mean, okay, so body. I'm from the. I listen. This is interesting. This is the debate. Like,
Age old argument.
is bodybuilding a sport?
Maybe an athletic
Athletic thing.
like track and field. I don't know. So I mean, we could go on all
No,
day about
not.
it. It's
Yeah.
fun. It's
No,
fun to do it. But yeah, no, I love the game of golf. So you try
yeah.
and use those attributes. So you try and be explosive off the ground in golf too, when you're turning and hitting and things like that. But gotta
Yeah.
increase my flexibility in golf.
That's it. No, so I mean, really, like I said, I really, I appreciate the time. There was certainly, a lot of things we can get into, but I know we're all on a bit of a timeline here, and like I said, I appreciate it. Is there anything else that you want to leave the listeners, the viewers with?
Yeah, no, Terry, thanks for having me. I'm glad that something that was a passion project for us ended up ending up in so many people's hands and mouths and pantries, and just we're just committed to keep going and producing great products that everybody can enjoy and live happy lifestyle with. So
And I sorry, I do to cut you off, but I want people to know like this is BioSteel does not advertise with us. We don't do any like real business like that, stuff like that. Whenever I've ever done anything, I'll be totally honest with you, man, it's because I actually like we put Tyler and all that because these are guys that actually perform. These are guys that do things, and like Mahomes, I think that was like absolutely like a big one, you know what I mean? And hopefully at one point, there will be something that we could do. Canadians, that's the one good thing, obviously I tell people to support what they can, go buy the product and all that. And like I said, I appreciate it. And I just wanted to get that out before we ended it. But
all good, man. All good. Yeah, anytime. Let me know. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and congrats on all the success. And the magazine looks great.
thank you. Appreciate it.